right, Wanted Nation, it's CJ in the studio. We got a brand new show for you. Let me talk to you. Gives me an opportunity to pick a topic or two and kind of speak on it and give my thoughts, opinions on those topics. So looking forward to get back into the studio and be able to talk about some things that I want to talk about and that are things that I feel the 110 Nation listeners would find interesting, or my spin or my thoughts on. This week just so happened that the UFL decided to drop their 2026 UFL new rule changes for the season. Some big rule changes, as a matter of fact. Season kicks off March 27th or March 26th. It's a Friday night. Looking forward to it. Looking forward to having some football back in our life. But some of these rule changes, the more notable rule changes, are quite interesting. So we're going to run through those, talk about them, give my thoughts on them, and let you know which ones I like, don't like, and ones I'm going to have to wait to see if I like or don't like on it. Um, ones I do like. 4-point goal. Any successful field goal from 60 yards or longer is now worth 4 points. This incentivizes teams attempt long distance kicks instead of punting when they cross midfield. Interesting. As we know that the NFL kind of is using the UFL as a farm system with players and testing rules. This is one rule I don't think we're ever going to see the NFL change to, but it gives a spin. It gives us something to want to see in the UFL. So I'm curious, one, how many of the kickers will be able to make 4-point plays, as we got the best of the best in the NFL. So you're only going to have your few one-offs that is going to be in the UFL or any other league outside of the NFL. But how often will these teams take that chance and try to kick a field goal versus going for a first down? Um, but CJ, why do you need to bring up a punt? We're going to get into one of those rules later on that I'm not so big on. These some of these 60-yarders that would be based on the offense being on their side of the or their opponent's side of the 50-yard line. So at this point, we're only going to be talking about a field goal or first down. So it'll be interesting to see how many times, how often that actually even happens. Extra points. They have updated their extra point system. I like this. This is interesting. You can get your traditional 1 point with placing the ball at the 15-yard line, getting a 33-yard point attempt. Nothing spectacular, nothing different about that. 2 points is you get the ball at the 2-yard line, just like the NFL. The change this year is the 3 points play. You're going to, a scrimmage play from the 8-yard line is moved up from the 10-yard line to get 3 points. So, and as well as the 2 point, they moved it to the 2-yard line versus the 5-yard to help give these offenses a little better or a more success rate on getting these extra points, the 2 and 3 point play. Maybe help make some of these teams want to go for the 2 point, 3 point plays more often than they have been in the past when you had to do it from the 5 and 10-yard line. Now you move them up, you make it a little bit more feasible for them to get these extra points. So those have been some changes that I do like. Another change that I do like is banning of the tush push. UFL has officially banned the brotherly shove. Offensive players are no longer allowed to push the ball carrier from behind the line of scrimmage. Something the NFL is working on moving out of the NFL as well. So I'm glad to see that the UFL is getting rid of the tush push as well. All right, another thing that I did like that the UFL has changed for the 2026 season is the coin toss. The league has brought back the traditional coin toss to start the game and overtime, replacing the previous system that the home team decided. So glad to see that. Glad to see that there's a little more of a 50-50 chance on how the overtime or the strategy of the game plays out, on whether you defer, not defer, in the regular play of game or also in overtime. So I'm glad to see that. Those were a couple notables on the side of the rule changes that I did like. So now we're going to see more points, easier to get extra points. I like those. Maybe it helps speed up the game, make teams do things that kind of go out of the box, think outside of the box a little bit more than they have been in the past. So I'm curious to see exactly how many teams actually try for a 4-point field goal, and how many teams will go for the 3-point play. You're talking a team could go down and score a touchdown, a field goal, and already have 13 points. So it's going to be a little bit different. I like to see the success rate on that. I like to see how many teams try these different non-traditional opportunities.
Looking for the ultimate way to represent your team? Welcome to the 110 Sports and Collectibles Company. We are a veteran-owned business that takes pride in bringing you the best in officially licensed merchandise. From the NFL and MLB to the NBA and college sports, we've got your fan cave covered. Visit us at any of our 4 locations. Find us in Monroe, West Milton, Hocking Hills, and Lancaster, Ohio. Can't make it in? Shop our full collection online at the 110 Sports and Collectibles Company. Make sure you follow us on Facebook and Instagram. There is only one nation, the 110 Nation.
A couple things that I don't like now. A couple things that I'm not quite on board with. One, no punts inside the 50. Once the team crosses over the opponent's 50-yard line, they are forbidden from punting. The rule is lifted during the final 2 minutes of either half. And if a penalty or loss of yardage pushes the team back behind the 50 after they've already crossed it, they still cannot punt. I'm not a big fan of that. And the whole rule in general, not they get pushed back and penalty and everything else. Just simply as that is part of the strategy. I'm not going to say I'm a big fan of the punts. I'm not a big fan of, that aspect of the game, but it is a interesting aspect of the game to watch some of these punters get these balls planted down to the 1-2 yard line. The teams having to make the decision: do we go for it? Are we close enough? Do we feel confident enough that our kicker can make the field goal, or do we punt it? And do we have the best punter in the league? Do we have the punter that can punt that ball and plant it inside the 5, inside the 10, angle it in a way? I understand the UFL trying to get away from the punts and force these teams to either go for the 4-point play. That's why I said we'll bring that back as why the punt is not an option, or make them have to go for it. But I think you're taking an aspect out of the game that I like personally. Like I said, I'm not a big punt person. We could go back and forth and watch. Why am I gonna say watch some great offensive defense? Because obviously the defense is what's shutting down, causing the punt. But I don't know. You're going to force some of these teams to have to make decisions just because they got to the 49-yard line, and then a penalty. I'd say, just hypothetical, you cross over, you get to the 49-yard line, then you follow with an unsportsmanlike contact, and a holding penalty. Now you've backed up 25 yards, and so now you're down with a your own 25-yard line. Now you're expected to either have to go for it or kick a 4-point field goal that would be 100 yards. Like that part of it, that's why one of the reasons I'm not big on this whole rule. So I'm curious to see how this rule plays out. I'm not saying my mind won't get changed, but I'm just not big on this rule, and I want to see the talents of these punters. These teams spend a lot of time, a lot of film study. They invest into these punters. These punters are amongst the best in the world, and you're telling me now, they're kind of taken out of the whole factor of everything. Not sure how I feel about that, other than I'm really not a fan of that. Um, Catch. 1 foot in bounds, adopting the NCAA standard. I can't tell you how much I hate this rule. I hate this rule in the UFL. I hate this rule in college football. I am not a fan of one foot is considered a catch. Just like in college football, I'm not a fan that if you fall down, you slip, you trip or whatever, and you are not touched down, that you cannot get back up and run. Why are you preparing these people in the college level to go and get drafted into the NFL or be in a quote unquote farm system like we have for with the UFL, and you're not having them play by the rules that they use in the NFL that ultimately your players are trying to get to. So I'm not a fan of it. I want to see my receivers have 2 toes in or 2 feet in. I can't imagine the NFL ever adopting this rule. We have seen some of the most phenomenal catches and some of the most spectacular plays ever in the NFL based on a receiver getting 2 feet in. So I'm not a fan of that. I'd rather them rule like that or being down by contact, being rules that are more mirror the NFL. I don't know. I'm not a fan of that one. So not big on the 50-yard punts. Not big on the whole 1 foot in. All right, and the part that I kind of have not the greatest opinion or the biggest opinion on so far is the kickoff adjustment. The kickoff team now lines up at the opponent's 45-yard line. Previously, it was the 40-yard line, and the receive team sets up zone has moved to the 40 from the 40 to the 35-yard line. So there is an adjustment there. I am still adjusting myself to this whole kickoff system and the rules that even the NFL carries. Uh, I'm one of those that is more of a traditional type of person. So I'm still adjusting to that whole concept of the game. I know that it has to do with safety and why the NFL did it. I'm just old school. I grew up in the days of watching Josh Cribb and having Devin Hester and some of the greats do kickoff returns and just the whole dynamic of the whole kickoff. So we'll see how those adjustments do for the UFL. They did adjust as well. Touchback, the ball goes all the way out to the 40-yard line. A little extreme to me. I don't like it necessarily coming out so far. I don't know. I know that they're trying to discourage the kickers to kick it through the back of the end zone. It's 25, 30. I mean, at this point, if that's just what you're going to do, then why don't we just automatically place the ball at the 40 or automatically place the ball at midfield? Like you're giving them almost a whole half a football field just because they kicked it through the back of the end zone. So I'm not necessarily a fan of that. So we'll see how much that changes the game and how the teams adjust to that as well. So give me your thoughts. Leave a comment below. Let me know your thoughts on the rule changes. What other possible rule changes you would like to see. Also, make sure that you subscribe to our YouTube channel as we work on continuing to grow. Give us a like. Follow us on Twitter at 110 Nation. Like us on Facebook, the 110 Nation. And make sure you guys check out Wednesday nights right here. Well, not right here. Well, you're gonna find it right here on our YouTube channel, but on the Fans for Racing Network, you can catch Race Chat live Um, get you guys caught up on all the latest in racing. So make sure you guys check that out. First episode back by myself. It's been a while. I know. I'm glad to be back in the studio. Like I said, between being a GM and having two businesses now, a lot of my time's consumed, especially one of them being a lawn care business. So usually it's go from the GM job and then go cut until dark, and weather and daylights and everything else plays a factor into all that. So we're working on getting things arranged. That's why I chose to do a 20-30 minute kind of little video show once a week, so I can have time to record it and get it edited and get it out, and not have to be restrained to a certain time on a certain day and everything else. So we're looking to put these out every Sunday. So make sure, like I said, you guys give us a like, a subscribe, and